So today I have Julia Coorey, who is Michael's mum, and she has a Facebook page called Michael's Mum. You have 11,000 followers, I think. Have I got it right?
I don't check very much, but
No,
it's nice to be here, David. Nice to see you.
it's lovely to meet you, and lovely to have some time with you because I've been following your posts about your journey with Michael and the challenges that you face, and with your other little girl and your
Two
husband, all
little
your
girls, two
challenges.
other little girls.
Two other little girls.
Yeah.
Goodness, wow, what a busy life you must have.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, my attention was brought to you by my daughter. I run a small disability business in Melbourne's East,
Hmm.
and my daughter works with me. And she shared with me, which I'd like to talk more about in a moment, but the post that you wrote, Caretopia,
Mm.
which I thought was magic, and I've shared it with a number of people. But first of all, let's talk about you. So you haven't always been a mum. You haven't always,
No.
had a husband and all those sort of things and everything. At one time, you were a tax lawyer. And
Yes, although I think I was already with my husband at that point.
were
I
you?
met him
Okay.
when I was still at uni.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, tax again. What can be more complicated than the NDIS, the Australian tax system?
Yes, that it could give it a run for its money. Although even tax lawyers, I mean, it's so complicated that tax lawyers specialize. So actually, you wouldn't really see a tax lawyer. You would have someone that does superannuation and
Yeah.
someone else that does GST or someone else like I did taxation of trusts and capital gains. So that's something I knew about. But if you ask me about superannuation, I would probably know about as much as, just the average person. It's very complicated. It's very
Wow.
complicated, but we're very well resourced, unlike the NDIS sometimes.
Wow. Well, as you know, this podcast is about love,
Hmm.
laughter, and kindness. And I'm sure those three play a significant role in your life.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So, do you want to give us a little background to Caretopia and what your life is like? Because that one gave a really good indication. Because can you remember you talked about your little girl coming in and talking to you? Was it 5:30 in the morning or was it earlier about ballet?
Oh, look, they all do. My children. So I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. So
Yep.
two daughters, and my son is 12.
Hmm.
So he's just starting puberty.
Mm.
And
Another
yeah,
big
that's
challenge.
just, yes, it is. It is definitely, and it was very sudden,
Yeah.
just a couple of months, and it's just like a completely different person is living in my house
Yeah.
with different problems to solve
Yeah.
that in
Yeah.
connection with that. Although I have many times been very thankful he's not a girl, because
Yeah.
I feel like a girl starting puberty is just a whole other, it
Yeah.
would be very difficult. Yeah, so that is, I look after them. I stay home with Michael. Michael is homeschooled,
Hmm.
and he did go to school for a bit when he was 6 and a bit when he was 7, and then the school just couldn't accommodate him anymore. He was very difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
when he was 6, it was still doable. Then once he got to age 7 onwards, it got harder for them. They did have an aide on him at all times, but it was still very hard, like just
Okay.
danger wise alone. So then from then on, he's been at home with me. He has been on a wait list for special schools. A lot of them are, I mean, they're harder to get into than like, Shore or any of those
Mm.
they're very hard, very long wait lists, and they're very small. They
Mm.
don't take many people. We are trying to get him into a public school, a special school for next year. That's a very long, it is
Yeah.
also a very long, complicated process.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will work anyway, if he will stay there for more than a couple of hours, if I'll have to pick him up, if I'll, it's all very fragile. I feel like all the systems, you build a lot of systems to help care for your children because you can't be with everyone at once, especially
Yeah.
Michael. I can't take him with me to school pickup.
Mm.
I can't take him with me to the girls do every activity. They love
Yeah.
all of their,
Yeah.
especially the older one. She's a performer. So she loves all of her dance and choir and drama and Stedfords, galore. But I can't
Yeah.
take him to any of that. So it's all a lot of we're building,
Yeah.
trying to surround him basically we're trying to surround him with people that care about him and that also know him, because just caring is not enough.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you need to be competent, you need to be able to look after him, you need to be quite fit, physically.
Yeah.
It's hard to so that's one of the reasons I am trying to get him to school, because
Mm.
I feel like he needs more than I can give him as he gets bigger.
Yeah.
He is like my height. Like he is
Wow.
currently my height, maybe a
Wow.
little taller.
Wow.
His shoe size is bigger than mine. And
Mm.
he's only 12, so
Wow.
what will happen in the future, I don't know with size. But it's definitely every minute. I feel like every minute of my day is accounted for,
Yeah.
as because we've been trying to do this for a month.
I know. And you've had
Yeah.
issues with, getting time free and carers and all that sort of thing. So, um, Julia, do you mind telling me what Michael's diagnosis is, or if you
Okay, so
prefer not to say?
Michael has level 3 autism, and he
Yep.
has a severe intellectual disability, and he's non-speaking. So he uses his iPad to communicate. He uses his Prolo
Okay.
quotes to go.
Okay. Well, what a challenge, because I know that you talked about trying to get a holiday, because I mentioned my cousin, who many years ago, he'd be a lot older than I am. If he was still alive, he was 10 years older. Can you read my cup, or is that reversed?
No, I got it. I can read it.
Good friends of mine sent me that when I turned 70 a couple of years ago.
How it feels, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Um, yeah, inside you don't feel the same age as you are on the outside.
No, no. Until you talk to people that are the age that you feel like you
Yeah,
are, and then you're like, oh no, they're infants.
yeah,
But
it's true.
yeah.
There was a great line somebody said the other day when an older person was sort of cracking jokes or being silly or something like I do all the time. And they said, "You should act your age." And the person's answer was, "I've never been this age before, so I don't know how to act."
That's true.
So Julia, the challenge that you have, I mean, with the holidays, as I was about to say, my cousin,
The school holidays. Yeah.
yeah, my aunt and uncle could not go on holidays, could not go shopping.
Mm.
One of them sat in the car with him and so on. So the sort of things you're talking about ring really strong. And I think you talked about having a holiday, I think with the girls, was it? And your husband was going to stay home and look after Michael.
Yeah, well, that's how we do it usually. We take turns. We have to. I mean, he has his support workers.
Sure.
They come technically 4 days a week from
Mm,
about 1 till about 8.
yeah.
And they're wonderful, but that's
Yeah.
not gonna, it's not gonna allow us to go away.
No.
Um, yeah, for sure. We have tried taking him with us. When
Yeah.
he was younger, when he was smaller, we could do that.
Mm,
Now he's just large. He often won't get out of the car.
yeah. Yeah.
And then he, in a new place, he can destroy it quite easily. We have a lot of systems in place here, which just makes it easier to supervise him, and if we just leave out the things that can be destroyed, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's safer
Yeah.
and easier. But at a new place, we can't control the environment. We don't know if they have good fences or gates. We don't know what kind of if they have glass everywhere. I don't know. A lot of new places have just glass, you
Mm,
know, everywhere. But it's also he's usually quite happy at home, especially I think when the girls are not
yeah.
there. He's quite happy because it's calm and quiet. So we do try. I feel like it's a holiday for him when we're not there.
Mm,
We try, but it's very, very hard. We have to organize grandma to be here with him. We have to organize the support workers to be here. And we have to make sure we don't go so far away that if something happens, we can't come back quickly.
yeah. Yeah. Look, I get that.
Not that
Um,
it does, but
no, no.
just in
But
case.
yeah. And so in a sense, you're on edge all the time, just in case
Yeah,
something happens. Yeah.
yeah.
One of our clients is a little bit like that. He's in his 20s, very big boy, big man, and for little things for him, for quite a while, he wouldn't get into a car because
Mm.
something had happened.
Yes.
And
Michael will regularly refuse to get in the
yeah,
car with me.
yeah, yeah,
And then other times he will have a big tantrum because I can't take him
yeah,
at that moment. So this
yeah.
morning we had the guy over to fix our gate, our little our door
Mhm.
outside,
Yeah.
and I couldn't leave because I had to be there, answer his questions, just watch what is happening.
Mm.
And Michael really wanted to go for a drive like that moment.
Yeah, yeah,
And I had to tell him to wait, and we have our visual timer. We have systems for that too.
yeah,
But he reacts differently. Sometimes it will be all right. And this time he was just getting really escalated. So I had to just and if you just take him for a short drive, he might get more upset.
yeah,
And so I can't explain to him, I can't say, look, Michael, there is a man here. And when he is finished, then we can go.
yeah, yeah,
All I can do is I can put on a visual timer with the car and 20 minutes or half an hour. Usually that works. This time it didn't work.
yeah,
But yeah, the car is an issue in itself for sure.
yeah, absolutely. So life is a huge challenge. Now, when I look at a when I look at a society, a world, we've made a lot of progress in Australia with, disability support and those sorts of things that some other countries don't have at all. We aren't as good as some of the countries in, like Sweden and
Scandinavian
Denmark,
countries are always good at
Scandinavian
everything,
countries,
aren't they?
and they seem to care for people. Goodness.
Mm.
Um, so talk to me about how you see government. Now, I started off by talking about caretopia. The concept that you wrote there was that you'd created this caretopia. It was Australia, but it was so much better. And, somebody would knock on the door and say, look, hi, I'm here for your half an hour rest or whatever it is. I've got it. You go and do what you need to do.
That was a joke. That
I
was
know
a
it was a
definitely a
joke.
joke.
I know it was a joke. I got it. But even so, there'd be many people who would see this, if they do, I hope we get a lot, who would see this and think, that I'd love that. I'd
I'm
love that.
sure that many of us would. I mean, you also have to trust the person, though,
Oh,
wouldn't you? Like
absolutely.
Michael, his support worker was gone for 3 weeks, but there's no way I could have I could have possibly found someone
Mm, mm,
to just come, but it takes us like at least 3 months just to train someone to be with him. It would
yeah,
be very risky to just have someone pop up and
yeah.
say, hey, yeah, okay, you look after him. I'll go have a nap.
I've always wrestled, and I like your input on this. I've always wrestled because I've been doing disability work since 2012.
Hmm.
Um, and when I started doing it, I wrestled with the issue of boundaries. Now, I know you need boundaries and so on, but I remember a client of mine who is a friend. They're not supposed to be friends, okay?
Yes.
But this guy, when I first went to work with him, he said a client had worked with him, and I have shared this on other podcasts, came to work with him, and he tried to make conversation because this guy's intelligent. He's got a physical disability. He just wanted to make, conversation and really make a friend because he doesn't get out without help.
Yeah, it's
And
very difficult. Yeah.
the response from the person was, I'm not here to be your friend, I'm here to be your worker.
Yeah.
And he found that so offensive that he told the agency, I don't want him back again. Now, the teaching that is given to workers is, you are not to be a friend, you're a professional, right? But there's a boundary here because a lot of the people we work with, and I imagine Michael would be the same, Michael has to have, tell me if I'm wrong, he has to have a rapport. He has to feel a
Yes,
connection
absolutely.
to the person who comes, and you do too, because they're coming into your house.
For sure. It's like a member of the family.
Yeah,
Like it's a
yeah,
very big deal. And I can see the boundary issue is probably also he's a 12-year-old boy,
of course, of course.
and we do have to be careful with
Mm,
luckily we've had only good experiences.
good, good, good.
Sorry, but yes,
Do you want to get a glass of water? I can stop for a
I'm all
minute.
right. I'm all right.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, the
yeah,
boundaries, how much of it It's also because I do have two younger children
Of course.
who run
Look,
around naked sometimes. So
yeah, of course. Look, it's not a black and white issue. If I put it, it's not yes and no and so on. But obviously, um, with each person, we're all so different. Our needs are so different, whether we've got diagnosed disability or not. Um, Now, so Caretopia was a fantastic idea. So how do you see one, the need for governments to be involved in providing support similar to the NDIS, and why should governments do it?
look, I think governments need to be involved because governments is just all of us
Yeah,
collectivizing our
yeah,
risk. Like that is what
yeah.
governments do, and what they do well. They don't do some things well. We know that. I mean, I'm
Mm,
Russian, so
mm,
I have family that basically lived in the USSR. They can tell you all the
yes,
stories about what governments should not be doing.
yeah,
But in terms of providing care, I mean, if you consider our public schools, and they have their challenges and they certainly could use with some more funding, but they are amazing. Like they match, at least I'm talking about Sydney. I don't know Melbourne, I must say, but in Sydney, they match the private schools, the primary schools. They do very, very well.
mm,
And they look after, most children with disabilities are in just in a public school and are looked after there. Government does that very well. It could do better. We should always ask for better, but it does. If we just suddenly took them all away and gave everyone vouchers, like what we do with the NDIS, right? If we just made it all, and all the schools had to compete with each other and the teachers would have to advertise, like that would be a massive waste of resources
mm,
because all these schools have to replicate things that at the moment they don't have to do, right? They
yeah,
don't have to, they can just get on with the job of
yes,
providing a good education. Whereas I feel like what we did with the NDIS in the name of choice is a little bit more like our childcare system,
mm,
where everything is private. And sometimes that can be very, very good. It does mean that there's a lot of profits to be made by some
mm,
people,
yeah,
and not always the people that provide the best outcome. Sometimes they do something good, sometimes not. I feel like government should be more involved in the
mm,
provision of services. I feel like that's what works well in other countries. I think that yes, choice is good, but up to a limit. I feel like choice can be meaningless a bit in the NDIS context sometimes because choice involves having options
yeah,
and knowing it involves having some information about your options, being
yeah,
able to compare them, being able to say, oh, for example, you say you're choosing an occupational therapist, being able
mm,
to say, well, this one or this one or this one, which one fits better with my
mm,
child? So I have my money, so I can use it to exercise choice.
mm,
But that's not really how it works, right? If
no,
my child is severely disabled, and if all of them have wait lists that go for 6 months anyway, then I will choose whoever is there. And often when you have a child with a more severe, complex disability, you are quite limited. There aren't
mm,
that many people that know what to do.
yeah,
Even as an occupational therapist, they might have more experience, teaching children how to hold a pencil, or like they definitely help with regulating, on a swing, or like there's many services they can
yeah, yeah,
provide. But when
yeah,
it comes to Michael looking for one, there's not that much choice
no,
anyway.
no,
Or when we were looking for a speech therapist, it took us a very, very long time. And many of them would just see us and say, oh, no, we don't do that. So I feel like if the government, so for example, when Michael just started, when he was just getting diagnosed,
yeah,
we went to a government institution. We went to the Child Development Service.
yes,
And it was like a multi-clinic, it was like a clinical team. They had a pediatrician, they had psychologists, they had social worker, they had a whole bunch of people
yeah,
all together. And it was much faster because they just saw us. They all saw us in a row. We were just there for a couple of hours. They gave us a big report, which would have probably cost us $3,000 If
Mm.
we went anywhere else, this was free. This was a government
Yeah.
service. And they were excellent. They gave us all our options, and that was it. That was it.
Well, you talk about the $3,000. That would have been what you would have paid, and the other couple would have paid, and the other person would have paid, and so on, wouldn't they? And
Yeah.
that's what happens now when we look at when people to get a new plan. Quite often they need to hire an OT to do work for
Not
them.
just
Other
a new,
people,
I mean, we have to do that. We have to
yeah,
do that regularly. For right now, for Michael, we're asking for more funding. And yes, there's an OT doing a functional capacity assessment, which took months to write.
mm,
And there's speech therapist writing her report, and there's the psychologist. There's just about 5 people involved,
mm,
and each one writing reports. I mean, and each one, I think of them as this really valuable person that
yeah,
could have done something with their time
yes, yeah,
that was useful. That was like, I mean, of course, it's useful for me, but will anyone even read this?
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. But this is, I just felt like it's such a waste of humanity, of people that are very well trained, very experienced, very interesting, very good at their jobs, and they just have to sit there and just write reports.
It's just so bureaucratic, isn't it? The whole
Yeah.
thing is designed to be bureaucratic.
And
Let
all
me
they're
ask you.
really writing is nothing has changed. He is still the same as he was.
I
This is
know,
how
I
much
know.
care my mum needs to. They mostly talk to me, right? So all their
Mm,
information, they will observe Michael for a bit. They will talk to me. I will provide information, and then they
yeah,
write it down.
yeah,
And then you pay $3,000 for it, or $10,000, or whatever. It's a lot of money altogether. It's probably
yeah,
$10,000 by the time it's all done. But they're really just writing what what I've said.
yeah.
And I'm
So
also going to have to say that again as well.
I know. And look, I've
Mm.
got experience of that as well. We've got, parents of clients who go through this every time or have gone through it every time. And sometimes they come back to me and they say, well, it's kind of like, does he still have cerebral palsy? You know, um, does it has a new leg grown?
Mm.
Stupid things. So Julia, let's ask you a question. Let me say that I've got a lot of magic available to
Mhm.
me, and I'm
Okay.
going to give you the power to redesign the NDIS.
Mm.
All right? But I need you to save money. Okay, because
Okay.
there's a
Okay.
lot of money's gone in there. There's been a
It's
lot of
true.
wasted money.
It's
So how are
true.
you going to do it?
Oh
How would
gosh, I think I would need a lot of help here. I don't think I'd do it by myself.
all right, let's
Let's give me a
make it more
team.
specific.
Yeah.
That wasn't fair. I'll make it
Mm.
more specific. So you're going through a plan restructure now.
Hmm.
How do you think that should be handled?
Well, look, I feel like people need to look at the capacity of carers when they have an unpaid carer in front of them, right?
Yeah,
So it's a person with a disability, and that is the center, of course. But also you have the unpaid carers in there, the informal supports, as they like to call us.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have to consider how many hours can this person actually physically do? How much are they doing?
yeah, yeah.
And I feel like that is what most employers do anyway. Like if you have
Mm,
somebody that is working for you, and unlike usual, they can't quit. So you can't say they can't quit,
no,
and say they are doing something that's very important, but they're not going to leave. You will still consider, are they going to burn out if I do this? If
yeah,
I make them,
yeah,
yes, maybe they are more flexible. Maybe they will do more work than somebody else would because they
mm,
can't quit.
mm,
But I still have to consider that if they break
yeah,
like completely, then I
yeah,
will no longer have them anymore.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I think that there needs to be much more consideration of that, of how many hours is this person doing? How many hours is a human capable of doing?
yeah.
There should be a lot more things like respite and a lot more support in terms of like support workers. They're starting to decrease community
Support.
participation
Yeah,
and all, but that is what brings joy.
absolutely.
I think these people need to think back to COVID. When we all went
Mm,
through this, we all had to stay home all the time, and we would
yeah,
get 1 hour to leave the house. and that's it. And then we'd have to go back and that people went nuts.
I
Like,
know.
even though they mostly actually had some leisure at home, which I do not personally, but they did. They still, like, just the fact that you are stuck at home all the time. And that is what happens to a lot of people. Like Michael, he cannot leave the house without his support workers often. He can leave the house
No.
with me, but I am small. I am a
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
person. I
Yeah.
have two other much smaller people to look after as well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
cannot possibly, I can't take all three of them out, but even just with Michael, sometimes I can, if I have a very specific place I can go
Yeah.
where I feel at the moment it's still safe for me to take him
Yeah.
because he's my height. But once he is bigger, and I don't know what puberty is going to do there, but I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. How will he be
It's
able
scary.
to, yeah, like
Yeah.
how will he be able to leave the house? How will he be able to, he loves going outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
his joy. It's being out at the beach. I take him to the rock pool and he can sit there for 2 hours. He loves it there. He's so happy, but I need to be able to keep him safe, to be able to walk with him, along the road, parking, walking back, making sure he doesn't trip over because he likes to run off without holding hands, which is very dangerous. And as he gets bigger than me, I'm going to be able to do less and less about that. So he will need people that are larger than me, or to have two people maybe to
Mm.
look after him. And he deserves that. So I think that when you are designing these systems, you have to look at what can the carer do? How much rest do they have? How can you structure it so that they get breaks? Because, like, my support workers, they have to have breaks
Yeah.
every 5 hours at most, right? But there's no system like that for me. How many breaks do they need? Are they getting those breaks?
Can we
And
just
also, is
pause for
this
a minute?
person, yeah?
Sorry. I think I seem to be having troubles with my internet, so I'm just fixing
Mhm.
it. Should be fine now. Sorry about that.
Okay,
If
that's all right. So I feel like they need to consider what they would be like if they were in this situation. Would they
mm,
be able to do the job that they really love if they suddenly had a child,
mm,
that is like this? Or would they, if they, were in a car accident tomorrow and they couldn't leave the house without a support worker, would they want their budget cut?
yeah, yeah,
What kind of hours do they need for well-being to be
yeah.
out of the house? Like, what do people need to thrive?
There is an economic argument which you may understand and may have looked at, which basically is the reason why we do a lot of our social investment. And that is that if you don't do it, the cost to community is far greater.
Well, for
Uh,
sure. I mean, even just from people going to the hospital to,
yeah,
like, of course, you could definitely look at it as an investment. And unfortunately, it's a long-term investment,
yeah,
and
yeah,
governments are not, if they have election cycles, not as good at looking at long-term. It's more of a what can we get done by the next 4 years? But yeah, for sure. Of course, it's a long term. Even early intervention is a long term investment, but it's very
yeah,
hard to quantify. It's very easy to say this is how much it costs.
yeah,
Until we start getting better at quantifying the benefits,
yeah.
it will always be easier for someone to just say, oh, let's cut this cost.
Let me put another scenario to you, and you know, this is something I definitely don't want to happen. But I'm sure you and your husband have talked about this. But if something happened to you too,
Hmm.
and we can't predict anything in this world,
No.
so many things happen, so many stories we can tell. But if something happened to you too, and the government then had to provide care for Michael 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of his life. I mean, the value of your contribution. I'm not an economist. Money's not my thing, but if I was to give a dollar value to what you and your husband are doing, the home that you provide, the food, everything, put a dollar value on that. It's huge. It's huge, the commitment.
Well,
So
for sure, all unpaid carers provide, absolutely billions and billions and
yeah,
billions, for
yeah.
sure.
So a sensible government will do not only create an NDIS, which they did, which is fantastic, but they should modify it so that it is more user-friendly. It's not going to break mothers or fathers or other primary carers.
I don't know how people navigate it that don't have a legal background.
No, no.
Especially people, like, let alone people with disabilities, which
Yeah.
is actually who's supposed to
Yeah.
navigate.
Yeah.
Like, I have all of my lawyer friends, if they have any family member with a disability, that's them. That's their job. They navigate the NDIS for that
Yeah.
family member. But
Yeah.
what if people don't have a lawyer in the family? I don't know what they do.
Well, what about, I mean, in your case, you know, we've spoken a couple of times, and I've got to know that, you know, you've got a lovely home, family home. You know, you and your husband and your children, you're doing your very best for them. But there are people with disabilities who come from homes that we might think are in some way dysfunctional, or maybe mum's got a disability as well, or maybe there is no dad, maybe there's no mum, who knows, single parent, all kinds of reasons why there's so much more pressure on that environment. And that single mother, single father, brother, whoever it is trying to manage the system, understand the system, and get the best for the person they love.
For sure. And I think many of them do, unfortunately, just give up.
Yeah, yeah,
I've spoken to people that have just said, look, we probably could get this and this
yeah.
funded, but I tried and I just gave up.
It's just too hard.
So
Yeah,
we just sit at home and we watch telly or whatever together. Because I can't take him out. I can't do this. It's really hard.
yeah,
There's a lot of little tragedies.
absolutely. Have you looked at? We talked about the Scandinavian countries before. Have you looked much at how they operate in this area?
Well, what they seem to do is they have a lot more like provision of services directly by the local council, sort of their equivalent of a
Yeah,
local
yeah,
council.
yeah.
So really like they're very local government. And the benefit of that is that they're right there, because
Mm,
sometimes the difficulty with government is it's far away.
yeah,
So they may
yeah,
not have the knowledge, the local knowledge
yeah,
to do things, but they got around that by having the local council do it in each sort of, I mean, everyone has challenges, everyone has waiting lists. I don't think anybody has completely solved it.
no,
Margaret Thatcher said that eventually you run out of other people's money. But I feel like the other side of that is that eventually you run out of other people's time. And I feel like that happens a lot, that you just don't have enough carers.
yeah,
You don't have, including the unpaid,
yeah,
paid, altogether, there's not enough.
yes,
And it is they are genuinely hard problems to solve for any government.
yeah,
Like the way they did it has worked slightly better. Their carers seem to be happier. They're still sort of less happy than everyone else in the society, and their people with disabilities seem to have a slightly higher employment rates and happiness. And I feel like when you don't have to coordinate the whole team yourself, because that
yeah.
takes enormous amounts of energy
Of
to
course,
do that.
of
Like, I'm
course.
hiring a third support worker right now. And like, for
Yeah,
example, in my household, so we have two support workers, and one of them was away for 3 weeks because of a family emergency, which can
yeah,
happen anywhere with anyone.
yeah.
And I can't, like, me personally, in my little house, I don't have the capacity to just hire someone in
No,
immediately that has already been trained, or to have someone that's sort of floating around that already knows Michael, but that I don't usually hire.
yeah,
And I could just bring them in at a moment's notice. I can't do that.
no.
If he was at a school, if he was somewhere with like a house with other people with disabilities, with other carers, they could get someone in
Mm,
that is already probably there, that already knows him, that could step in
yeah,
that 3 week period. So when you give this funding to people to use in their little silos, in their little homes,
mm,
then you have these problems where we have to solve things that in a different sort of setting are not that hard to solve. Like, they're
mm,
easier to solve in a home where, for example, when Michael went for therapy in childcare, he went to like a childcare therapy center, and
mm,
it was a 1-to-1 ratio for child to therapist at this center. But they actually had to have, so what they did is they had 4 children and 4 therapists.
yeah,
They would sort of rotate.
yeah,
And they would often have a fifth at all times. And the fifth would be training with
Yes,
those four
yes,
children. And they would
yeah,
be observing what the other therapists were doing. So that if the other therapist was away, if they moved on, if they had a family emergency or whatever, this other person could just step in.
yeah.
And that is the advantage of something like a local council providing something like this, is that they could do that. So that
Mm,
takes the burden off me having to look for people. I'm looking for someone for Fridays right now, which is
yeah,
very hard, by the
yes,
way.
yeah.
Fridays, nobody wants to do Fridays. So I have to look at all these resumes. I have to know who to trust. I have
Mm,
to know how to hire someone, which is not easy.
no,
I have to learn things about payment, and do they need superannuation? Do they need insurance? Do they want to go through? Luckily, they mostly go through higher ups, so sort of handle that. Then I also
yeah,
need to handle the NDIS side of things, and it's a full-time role just to do that. Like it's like a master's in NDIS, right? That you're doing while you're learning how to do. It's very hard to,
absolutely.
and then you have to interview them all and then hire them, and then you have to train them for months and have to make sure you've got the HR side of things handled, that you are able to, like, if I usually have one of my support workers train the other one, somebody that's very experienced, but I have to step in as well. I have to see how their personalities mesh. How do they mesh with Michael? Is there some sort of safety concern um, with this person? Because there's a new person coming into your house, and a lot of these things that are trained, a manager would probably, it would be second nature to them.
Mm,
That's what
mm,
they do. That's their life. For me, stepping into as a tax lawyer, I'd never had to do anything like that in my life. So I had to learn how to do all of this, and it changes all the time because the rules change
yeah,
all the
yeah,
time now, with the unregistered providers getting 10% less. And like, there's a lot of things to get your mind around that just make it much harder, I feel like, the way we do it than the
yeah,
way they do it with the local government providing a lot of the
yeah,
services. If you can just go, and you know that this will be a service, and you drop them off and you pick them up, or they come to you, but it's from this place and
yeah,
this place. And I feel like that, as long as it is a good place, as long as they have
yeah.
quality controls, and like they do at schools,
Mm.
that it would be a lot easier for us to navigate like a system like that.
Well, look, it has issues on all sides, and for you, it's life. It's such a challenge, you know. Um, but even with the approach that the NDIS is taking with non-registered providers, now my business is, we do respite and so on, but we're not registered. And I actually went through the process to register. It cost me about $6,000
Mm.
to get the paperwork ready. There were other costs that were ahead of me. And in the end, because we're only small, I looked at the compliance levels and I thought, without an HR team working with us, we can't do this. You know,
Yeah, it's exactly, that was our
yeah,
ABA clinic, who were
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
They were not registered for this
yeah,
reason, and we had to be self-managed, because people were like, "Oh, you should be plan man," and it would take some of the work out for you. I was like, "Well, no, because our provider is not registered." And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot of providers say that it's very, very difficult to be
I've got
registered.
I have a friend who did register, and his business is a lot smaller than mine. It's
Mm,
costing him $10,000 a year for audits.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's ludicrous.
Look, it,
So
it would be like if everyone had to do self-managed super funds instead
yeah,
of just having big
yeah,
super funds here, because
yeah.
that's why people don't do it, right? You have to pay for very expensive audits.
Mm,
That wouldn't make sense unless you have a lot of money in
yeah.
that super fund.
I suspect that governments of all persuasions always take the line of they say they want to look after the people who vote for them, and so on. But at the end of the day, it's the people who have the most power who are
Mm.
who are going to be supported and protected. The lobby groups, we're not going to tax the billionaires. We're not going to tax gas and all those sort of things. We just give it all away, and then we'll work out how we can peel back the supports we provide to people who really need it. So there was a little vent from me there. All right, let me go through just some of the titles and give you a chance to talk about them if you want to make a brief sort of statement about them. I'm looking on your Substack page. Okay,
Hmm.
your Facebook page is fantastic. I a question I do want to ask you is how did you bypass the Facebook algorithm police?
I don't know. I don't honestly know nothing about the Facebook algorithm or how it works.
No, it's
I
probably
don't know. I just write stuff and then I press post. That's it. That's all I know about it.
it simply shows that what you're writing about, there are so many thousands of people who are deeply affected by it. So that's why you've
Well,
got your
we're all
following.
living this. There's a lot of us living this
Yeah,
life, you know.
yeah,
It's just that unfortunately we are often trapped
yeah.
in our little where we
There's no
live,
escape.
in our little homes, so we just don't know.
Yeah,
We don't know what everybody else is going. It's only when you often don't want to talk about it
of
with
course.
just with people that you see in the street,
Yeah,
even if you see them a lot, like other parents at school pickup or something. But if you ever do, then you find out actually a lot more people are affected by this than you think.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to go through some of your subjects here because I think they're fantastic. So a brief statement about the one I've read this. The 82-year-old woman making spaghetti at 6 a.m.
Yeah, that was my grandmother.
Lovely. And
She's
she comes
amazing.
in.
She's always at my house. I have to kick her
Wonderful.
out. I have to say, go do something fun, grandma.
That's so
She's
sweet.
always there trying to. I feel like that generation, though, especially the women, have been sort of
Yeah.
trained that either you are doing something useful or you are just evil and you're bad and you have to do something use. And this is why I kick her out because I want her to learn to like
Look
do
after
something
herself.
that she actually enjoys that
Yeah.
does not benefit someone else. And I asked her about this. I said, "Do you have?" And she just looked at me blankly, like she did not understand.
No, no.
What are you talking about? Like that I like, but it does not do something for. What's this? What do you mean?
This is very suspicious.
Oh my God. Talking about like, well, just think of Granddad and what he does all day.
Yeah.
Okay, you do something like that.
Wow. Okay, let's go for the NDIS debate isn't really about disability.
No, and I still don't think it is. It's about, I feel like it's about the way we think about government, the way we think about economics, and the way a particular version of economics has sort of permeated our lives.
Yeah.
And we take it for granted that it's right,
Mm.
even though it's only really been around since the 80s, you
Yeah.
know. But I feel like even when we talk about the NDIS, it creeps in
Yeah.
very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pauline Hanson and the strange habit humans have of thinking everything is falling apart.
Yeah, I see that one a lot because we're actually like we're doing so well. Like the
Yeah, yeah.
Australian government, if you look at any international bodies that, give sort of marks for
Yeah, yeah.
governments, like we're like second, third in the world. We're amazing.
Hmm.
We do amazing things. We have very difficult problems that we need to solve, but it's not. I generally think that most of the people that are in there are trying their best. Like they might not. We all have many different opinions on good ways to solve our problems, but I think they're doing pretty well, and I think we'll get there. Like we'll get there.
I always find it amusing that, Australia is this massive land, this huge island, you know, and the cost of maintaining infrastructure and roads and electricity and all the stuff across this massive space of land. And I don't think in all my life I've ever heard a politician talk about that. They've never
Hmm.
talked, they always talk about, oh, cutting taxes, reducing taxes, doing this, doing that. But, it's a massive country with very, very few people in it still.
Yeah,
And
well, of course, the livable part of the
the
country is a
livable
bit
part of it, of
smaller,
course. Yeah, yeah,
but yes, it
yeah.
is.
Now, the next one, why nations fail and why carers are tired.
Yeah, I was going through my Ashimoglu phase, and he's still my favorite. He wrote just this amazing. I mean, he's written many books,
Yeah, yeah.
and won the Nobel Prize. Just in between.
What's
Um,
his name again? Sorry.
Darren
M-O-G.
Ashimoglu.
Ah, okay. Ashmo, I
He's
think I do. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an economist,
Yes.
and he's written some very, very interesting books, including one called Why Nations Fail.
Ah,
And in it, he was talking about sort of the institutions that we need to help a country succeed.
Yes.
and what
Yes.
happens, what's different ways you can fail. It's sort of like that quote, how happy families are all happy the same way, but unhappy ones are all unhappy in slightly different ways. So
Yeah.
he was kind of like that nations that succeed are all fairly similar, but the ones that don't succeed, they don't succeed in different ways. They fail in different ways.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
it sounds like a book I need to read.
oh, it's the best. It's amazing. Why Nations Fail. It's
Okay.
just definitely in my top three.
All right. I'll go looking for that.
It's
I'm
on
looking.
Spotify if you like audiobooks, you
Oh,
can
great.
listen to it on
I actually
Spotify.
love audiobooks. I listen to
Yeah.
audiobooks all the time.
Mhm.
Um, so now I'm going to skip Caretopia because we talked about that. It was fantastic. Why modern populism hates elites more than billionaires.
Yeah, I found that very interesting. If you look at Pauline Hanson, you look at their websites, and they hate anyone with a degree.
Yeah.
And they call. I always thought it was really weird that the elites they would like single out a university professor or something who was probably on $100,000 or something, and say that's an elite. Whereas, the people gifting jets to Pauline Hanson, that's not an elite. And I
No.
thought, why would you think that? So I really had a big look into it. And what was interesting is when I was reading The Tyranny of Merit by Michael Sandel,
Hmm.
um, he had a lot to say about it. And I thought he had some points about why, and I think it has to do with the fact that the union movement, because of globalization, it's losing some of its power, especially the
Yes.
unions
Yes.
for like construction workers. That's sort of like the unions for like government workers, they're okay. That's still going. But I feel like people that don't have university degrees feel like they have less power. And I can see how they might resent this idea that they are worse, that because they think differently, because they don't have a degree, that they are just like that people that do have university degrees, because it seems to be like the big
Mm,
thing
mm.
in society now, where you do have a university degree, you vote this way. When you don't have a university degree, you vote this way. And I feel like they think that they look down on, and that breeds resentment. And I thought that was it's also another very good book. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've taken note of that one again.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to The Economics of Kindness by Guy Dauncey, who I interviewed here a little while ago,
Mm.
and I love the Kindness Revolution, written by the wonderful Australian um, uh, who has whose name escapes me at the minute. um, I'll probably have to skip that and pull that out. I'll skip. I'll come back to that. That's embarrassing.
Oh, that's all right. I forget my children's names sometimes. I call them child number one, number two, number three. Come here. Yeah.
Oh, that's better. Now I'm feeling better. All right, now the last one, and you've got more, so I highly recommend your Substack and your Facebook because you do speak for a lot of people, and your writing, as I said to you earlier, is brilliant. So
Thank
keep it
you.
up. You know, the economics of pretending mothers are free.
Yes, well, that's sort of what I was talking to you about before, that
Yeah,
carers do provide billions and billions of dollars
mm,
worth of care.
yeah,
And if you pretend that that's free, if you pretend that that doesn't actually cost them, like it costs me.
yeah,
I don't mean just in foregone wages. I mean just in, I don't know, in my soul, pieces of
yeah,
my soul.
yeah,
It's very, very time consuming, very difficult work,
yeah.
being a mother, doing all the things that we have to do. And if we don't get a break and we break down, then that can be very bad economically
Uh,
for a
yes,
country.
yeah. I We probably need to finish at this point, but it's been wonderful talking to you.
It's nice
I
talking
am
to you too.
I'm going to ask you one last question.
Hmm.
My belief, one of the things that I've talked about on this podcast is that it'd be great if we had a kindness summit in our country once a year, and maybe do it in council areas, in state government areas, in in federal government areas where we measure what we do on the basis of, is it kind? You know,
Mm.
are we being kind
And how
to our
much does it
people?
benefit actual people?
Yeah, yeah. So in my view, when I think of how government should be, I think that we should model government on a family that is a supportive family. And
Mm.
your family is a supportive family. So
Yes, it is. And I think that's because we think of the children as our children. So not
yeah,
just mine and my husband's,
yeah,
but it's sort of they are everyone's children. So it
yeah,
is everyone pitches in,
yeah,
which of course helps me tremendously. I think that the fact that we do that does make
yeah.
it much easier to function together.
If our countries operated the same way, more we do to a great degree, and we've talked about that. But if we really modeled ourselves on that sort of concept, whereby the people who are the most vulnerable, the people who are most in need, we're going to care. You love your daughters, I know you do, right? But Michael, because of his needs, takes more of your time, takes more of
Sure.
your energy. But that, on the one hand, it's you could say it's wrong, but it's also right. It's the right way of being a family, of being a mum, being a dad, having a family. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
well, it's also he takes them in a different way.
Yes, yes, yeah. What does Michael give back to you?
Oh, Michael is amazing. Michael gives hugs that are the
Yeah,
best hugs and smiles.
yeah,
And he actually just genuinely lights up the room wherever he is. And
yeah,
there are people that like grandparents, uncles, anybody that gets a hug from Michael
yeah,
because they're very rare. They remember it. They will
yeah,
tell me, 2 years later, Michael hugged me here
yeah,
at this time in
yeah,
2019
yeah.
in December.
I tend to think that sometimes people with disabilities, like Michael, they've got something that some of us people who think we don't have, and we're much more mature and so on, we lose. We lose that
Yeah, well, he is
simpleness.
very, very good at living in the moment.
Yeah,
That is something my daughters don't have at all. They are constantly bored and constantly need entertaining and constantly need to achieve and, get
yeah,
trophies and whatever. And Michael
yeah.
doesn't need that at all. So I think that in many ways, he's like the Zen master. Yeah.
It's kind of heart to heart, isn't it?
Yeah.
Listen, it's been really lovely talking, Julia, and I hope to keep in touch with you. And lots of love to you and your family, and to Michael.
Thank
And
you.
your husband must be amazing as well. So,
He is. He is.
yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.